This is June 29, 2015. Beautiful UCLA in Los Angeles, California, where it's a beautiful sunny day. Daniel is about to share with us his respect exercise. You can take a step forward, Daniel. You don't have to stand against the wall. Okay, thanks. And we're rolling.
So what is respect? When I started this project, I assumed I knew what respect was. And I thought I wouldn't really have to change much by practicing nonverbal respect. I thought because I'm polite, have manners, hold the door open for people, there's nothing really that's going to have to change in my body language when I'm talking to others. But I was quickly changed my mind. So basically, I found out that very, very rarely do people practice nonverbal respect and really look at someone's eyes when they're speaking to them and try to genuinely respect them as a person and appreciate them, even if they're complete strangers and have no idea who they are and what they've done. And I think that's why I got such strong responses, because it's such a rare method. So I will tell you these responses: the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm going to start with the bad. The bad is probably the most universal response that you'd get. I saw this right when I left the classroom last week on Monday. A person was walking the other direction. I gave them a smile, looked them in the eyes, repeated to myself, "I respect you, I respect you." And I did not get anything in return. She looked at me with a blank stare and then continued walking. And then I found this 30 minutes later at my water polo practice, where the lifeguard at my school, who rarely ever really speaks to the athletes, she is really there to just watch over us. I asked how her day was, and looked her in the eyes and gave her a smile, and she too just said fine and sort of carried on. So you're not always going to get the reciprocating respect. And these people are not necessarily disrespectful and bad people or anything. They just have sort of been grown accustomed to what happens in the United States. A lot of time it's a very isolationist community, many times. So the next topic I'll go on is the ugly. The ugly happened at my first day of my internship at the mayor's office at City Hall. I showed up, and as you've seen from the class, I can be late sometimes. So I showed up and with 5 or 10 minutes to spare, and I found myself engulfed in a huge line of people trying to get in also, and there's a big security check, so it takes very long to get in. And some of them were very questionable figures. There was a bunch of people from Homeboy, which is a group that's trying to get out of the gang life. So after 10 minutes, I was already basically late for my internship, and I was at the front of the line when a group of 10 or 20 men came and cut me. And at this point, I was like a little nervous because I was already late for my internship and I was trying to make a good impression. So I kept repeating to myself, "I respect you, I respect you," and went up and tried to explain myself to these men. And all of them ignored me, except one who just looked at me and said, "Screw you." So I retreated back, and this was sort of the first time I've ever been exposed to negativity when trying to practice this genuine respect. The last story is the good. This happened right after my internship when I came home. My housekeeper comes a couple days a week, and she's working for us for the last 4 years. And I really know very, very little about her. But when I came into the house thinking to myself, "I respect you," and just had this attitude of respect, I saw her and I suddenly became a lot more interested in what she had to say, her background and everything. So I asked her how her day was, and the conversation evolved into a conversation about her background, her life, and eventually she told me about her son who died a few weeks ago, and how her blood pressure is dangerously high now because of all the stress that she's been through. And it just blew my mind. I had no idea. And it sort of showed another essence of why respect is so needed. because I learned from respect that without really having respect for others, you don't have interest in what they have to say, what they have to share, and there can be some very, very interesting stories and things that you can learn from powerful words that can be said. And when everyone's living in their secluded life, sort of seeing others as not much more than like obstacles on the sidewalk, you can't really experience this. You can't learn from others. You can't humanize others. But when you do see people as humans and really try to listen to what they have to say, you can learn a lot. So that was my experiment, and I definitely encourage everybody to continue to try to do this method for onwards.
Thank you, Daniel. So we'll start in the front row here. Stand up, say your name, say what you like, please.
Hi, my name is Deanna. I liked how...
What's your name?
Deanna.
Hi, Deanna.
I liked how in your narrative you talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it was very concise, able to tell what it was. And I liked the stories you told, they're very detailed, and you didn't really ramble, which was good.
Thank you, Deanna. Improvement?
Hi, my name is Cynthia, and I really like...
Hi, Cynthia.
Hello. I like that you ended with a positive note, or with a good experience. I think maybe improve in some of the pauses and the a little bit.
Okay, those are good suggestions. When you watch yourself tonight, Daniel, on YouTube, watch the pauses, the ums, and I'd like to say it would help if you moved 3 times a little bit. That would help you relax to the left, to the right, and then back to center. Well, let's go from the top. You you started with a rhetorical question about what is respect, and you gave a personal story. I thought this assignment was going to be a breeze, and it turned out not to be, and then you gave us the preview. So that was very compelling opening, a good story that opened it up with. As I've said to others, and you probably heard me say this, I'd like to see you make your narrative with your voice be a little more prominent by saying, so today in my speech, I'm going to give you the good, the bad, the ugly, so it stands out, and you make a contract with your audience. Say, you just it was just the same as everything else as you said it. Say, so I'm going to do that. If also you're going to do it in a different order than the good, the bad, the ugly, then say that you're going to do it the bad, the ugly, and the good. Keep the order consistent with what it was. You talked first about the bad and people that ignored you, which I warned you would happen, and that's life in America in 2015, or in the world, really. And a piece of it is digital, a piece of it is, people become self-absorbed, but and the lifeguard too, but I urge you to continue, even though it can be discouraging when you're saying it and making an effort. And people are ignoring you, to continue to make the effort till it's a habit. And I would encourage you to, make paragraphs of heads, of good, bad, the ugly. So it's a little. This is more of a stream of consciousness here, but that was fine. Your second story about the ugly was a good story, really your best story about you had some real tension in there. You were trying not to be late. You're mayor's office intern, and you didn't know there was a metal detector and all kinds of people that were trying to get through it, and then people taking cuts, and so now you have to get there about an hour early just to get through the metal detector. So. But the story was a poignant one that everyone can relate to, about how impotent you can feel when someone goes F you to I'm cutting in line with tough shit. I had a Chinese student who's now a CEO of a company in China here, and he was. I was with him. We were standing in line at the teller machine down in Westwood, across from Headlines, that corner teller there. And there's a long line, and this real big guy, about 6'4", about 300 pounds, just walked to the front of the line and put his card in. And Arthur said, "No cuts!" And this big guy turned around and said, "And what are you going to do about it?" And Arthur just went, "Nothing." So the guy proceeded to get his money and walk away. You know, it's kind of like what you experienced. You know, what are you going to do? Yeah. "Oh, policeman, you took cuts." You know, right? Yeah. They're just bad-mannered people in the world, but you still can repeat. That's when you really repeat the mantra, is when you're in those bad situations. And then you ended, I like, as Cynthia pointed out, you ended on a positive note, and that was good. I liked that. And so that was good. And I like the fact that, because, you know, whether it's a housekeeper or a taxi driver or it's anybody, everybody has their story and needs respect and wants to be listened to. And you were probably amazed that her son had died 2 weeks earlier, and here she is still at work cleaning your house and so forth, you know, which is pretty amazing, right? So, and then same with the narratives. I want to hear you say at the end, "So what did I learn?" And then peel it off. And then you had your stuff about what I got out of this and so forth. And then, and I encourage all of you to continue to try it. So walk 3 times, a little more vocal variety, pauses, watch the ums, and but you did a good job. You got it done. Thank you. What was the time? Anybody time? Does anybody have a iPhone, a Mac 6 they can time on, or whatever? You have a phone you can time?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Would you start timing? Thank you. Okay, we'll just say that was 5 minutes. Okay, good. Okay, let's continue from the back row. Anybody else in the back row? No, next row. Have you done it? Okay, it's your turn. Yeah. Hi, how you doing?
Fine, yourself?
Oh, great, thanks. Okay, don't come ahead of those 2 squares. You're a little taller than regular people, so I'll have to adjust the camera, but there you're good now. Yeah. Okay, she stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, my name is Isis Trombon, and today I'm going to talk about respect during your first interactions. So we always hear how first impressions are crucial, whether you're meeting a business partner or whether you're meeting your significant other's parents. Respect is crucial. First impressions are crucial. So today I'm going to talk about how respect is the most crucial part, because even though our appearance matters and a firm hand grip, a handshake matters, respect is the most important thing. I'm going to talk about how my first interactions with my new roommate and my first interaction with a customer established our future interactions. So with my roommate, we met on a Monday afternoon. Later on that night, we began to study for our classes, and she got a phone call in the middle of the night while I was studying, and she respectfully got up and went into the living room to talk to her parents, after which she came back, and I thanked her for what she had done, because with my past experiences, most people would just sit in the room and talk as loudly as they can or blast music without any care about the other people in the room. So I thanked her for that, and I respected her because she was able to show me respect without even knowing me as a person. Later on, the next morning around 6 o'clock, I had to get up and get started early because I had work. I unintentionally made a whole bunch of noises. You know, when you're trying to be very discreet and trying to be very careful, you all of a sudden start to make more noises than usual, and that's what happened that morning. The doors started to creak. I started to, my brush fell on the ground, and she woke up. And I could tell right away that she was pretty angry, because it was almost as if I didn't care about her because I was making all these noises. Later on that night, we began to talk about the different noises that we were making, the different interactions, and how we could better how we can respect each other inside the room without disturbing one another. We talked about the different noises that were that could be controlled and those that couldn't be controlled. For example, the door creaking, that can be controlled, and if she does happen to wake up, I apologize, but there isn't much that I can do about it. But all the other noises, we did talk about it. So from this good experience, which is the first one that I told, from the latter, which is the bad, we came to the conclusion that we established the respect inside the room without having to go through a brawl or an argument. And as a result, our future interactions to this day have been positive. The ugly, on the other hand, which is my interaction with a customer, happened while I was at work. And this customer, I guess from her earlier day, her experience throughout the day, she came with a bit of an attitude. And her being an elder woman, I tried to give her as much respect as possible. So while I was ringing her up, she pre-calculated her total amount, her total cost for the items that she was buying, and she miscalculated by $40. So while I was ringing her up, she had a total of about $320 something, and she thought she had about $200 something. So she asked me to recalculate, to redo the entire transaction, and of course I did it again. It's my job, without an issue. We went through the same issue again where she had to pay $40 extra. She got angry and decided that she was going to call my manager. So she called my manager over, and we found out that the reason why she was overcharged was because she bought a full price item rather than a sale item. Eventually she apologized. We started to have a conversation, and later on the next day, my manager called me and told me that she had came to return an item. And when my manager asked her, did someone help you the previous day, she said that I helped her. Even though I couldn't take all the credit for her previous transaction, because all I did was ring her up, I didn't really help her find all the items. I was grateful and I was thankful that she had the nerve, or not even the nerve, but the kindness to say that I'm the one who helped her, because I do get commission off of that. So it was very kind of her, and it was just, it goes to show you that the respect that I paid her really made a difference in how she viewed me as a worker, because she recommended me the very next day to get that extra bonus. So your first interactions, just like your first impressions, are really important, because they of course establish future relationships with that person, whether directly or indirectly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good. Where are we? What was it in time?
4 minutes and 32 seconds.
4:32. Thank you. Okay, we're here.
My name is Sienna. I really liked how clearly you laid out your intentions at the beginning of the speech and how nicely you came back to those at the end. I also liked how you used your hands. It wasn't distracting. It was really purposeful. And I liked it.
Okay, and improvement?
Christina.
Hi, Christina.
Overall, I think you did a really good job. If I had to say something, probably just the pauses that you took trying to think of the right word. I know that happens to all of us, but that's the only thing I really noticed.
Thank you.
Okay, it's aceto, right? Am I saying it right or am I way off?
Isotu.
Isoto.
Yeah.
Okay, I got an isoto. Isoto, I like your general fluency of your speech. I want you to learn to follow the pattern, the structure a little more carefully. I'd like you to start with an intro that kind of grabs your audience and draws them in and makes them want to listen. You kind of just start with, here's my speech, right? So, and my suggestion would be a poem, a story, a quote, a joke, anything that would get you to get your audience used to listening to you. And then give us a thesis preview and say, so today I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly with your voice and what I learned. So we have that coming out from you with your voice emphasized as a preview. So, and then tell us that, you know, the first day you had the experiment was, and here's what I didn't get from the whole time you were doing this. Were you repeating the mantra of I respect you as you were interacting with your roommate, or were you not, or were you just thinking about the concept of respect?
I wasn't really repeating all the time, I respect you, I respect you. I was more so just giving her the respect.
Giving them respect. Yeah, I would like you to try repeating the mantra and see if that yields some results for you, okay? Yeah, I didn't think you were. On the first story about her leaving the room and then you thanking her for being respectful and thanking people that leave a restaurant when they get a phone call, and that's a very respectful thing to do. That was a good sign of respectfulness. Yes, it was. And nonverbal respectfulness. It wasn't exactly what you were noticing respectfully. It wasn't exactly the experiment we were doing, but it was a sign of respectfulness. And it was a good one. Now, on the bad, you waking your roommate up with your noise, unintentionally, obviously, but her being annoyed at being awakened and then talking to you about it and then you working it out in a respectful manner, sounds like it worked out well. What I'm saying is that if you can work out a way to, say, okay, I respect my roommate so much I'm going to put stuff out in the living room or outside so I don't have to make this noise and open the creaky door and open the creaky chest of drawers in the closet and do other things to not make so much noise in the morning, then that's great. But as you were talking to her, I think I would have liked you to have been thinking, I respect you as you talk to her about it. See how that maybe would have changed the interaction. And by the way, you work in retail, and you were one of the people I was talking about that has to eat the bad customers' negative words and phrases a lot, and you just have to smile and say, yes ma'am, the customer is right. And I know that's a very difficult thing to do. I had an airline stewardess in the class that said it was a horrible thing to be trapped in a metal cylinder and have men grabbing her and saying rude things and you can't even escape. And So I empathize with you, but during that interaction when she insisted you ring it up again and then call the manager is the time to repeat the mantra, I respect you, and to keep your cool. Okay? You didn't tell me much about you practicing the respect. You talked to her more about her respecting you and calling your name out and giving you a commission, which was cool. And you were lucky because it doesn't always work that way. Some people can be very nasty and give you a negative rating. And I found that these internet ratings, some people find that these anonymous ratings, they can find they can say anything. This guy was, and get away with it. And it's kind of sad. And then finally, after you finished your ugly story, then I wanted you with your voice to say, what did I learn? Real loud voice. And then say something about what I learned. And then to kind of summarize. So I've told you the good, the bad, the ugly. Here's what I've learned. And then a tie back to your introduction, whatever you started with. That's the structure I wanted you to use for your storytelling. Okay? I said 2.
Yeah.
Okay? You did a nice job other than that. Thank you. Okay. What next in the same row? Do you have one?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We're on a roll. And I can't. Oh, I need your
Oh yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. You're a little shorter, so let me adjust the camera. Don't stand right against the wall. That suggests that you're afraid of your audience. Stand right in the squares. Yeah, good. Good. Okay. Devontae stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, saying to himself as he looks around the room, I respect you. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center, say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi, my name is Devanshu.
Hi, Devanshu.
Hi, nice to meet you. So generally, it seems that a lot of people had some very negative responses from people. Like you had those people cut you. I actually had generally very positive responses. I didn't have any ugly responses, and so my conclusion from this experiment was generally very positive. So I conducted this experiment from Monday to Tuesday, and I tried to show respect non-verbally to generally everyone that I met by smiling or slightly lowering my head or something like that, and repeating in my head, "I respect you." I did this to people who were passing by me, or to people who I knew well, and to in a restaurant or a store. I did it to the clerks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I generally learned from this experiment was that showing respect to people does make them happy, and it makes you feel better about yourself as well. And so in general, it brightens your day, and you might probably get like a positive response. Even if you don't get a positive response, I think it still makes you feel better about yourself that you even tried to do that. And so I think it helps lower stress and just in general make your day better. So first I'll talk about the good responses, then the bad responses, and I didn't have any ugly responses to really share with you. So,
Okay, good.
So in the good responses, I'll subdivide that into the good responses, and then the great responses, the ones that resulted in people actually helping me back by, let's say, holding open the door, or yeah, like that. That's good. So in the good responses, those came in the form of people just smiling back, or doing the same thing that I did to like just showing respect. And these generally came from people that I was just passing by as I was walking along. So in the CHS, which is the Center for Health and Sciences, it's like a building over that way. I have an internship there at a lab, and so I was just walking around, walking to my room, and I saw this woman who was passing by. She looked very busy, but I smiled to her, and I slightly lowered my head, and I said, "I respect you," in my head. And she responded by, and she also smiled back, and it looked like she was genuinely, she was genuinely also reciprocating that respect. And so that was a positive response. A really great response was when, in the elevator, I showed respect to an elderly woman. And I also saw that same pattern. Older people were generally more prone to positive responses. And that woman, I dropped something on the floor, and she helped me, and she picked it up for me, which she might not have done if I hadn't shown her respect and smiled at her. Now moving on to the bad responses. The bad responses that I had generally came in the form of just people ignoring me or being indifferent, so not smiling back. So these came from people that I knew well, which was surprising, and from people that I was just that were just passing by me. So while I was walking in the Ronald Reagan Hospital over that way, and there was this cleaning lady, and she also looked very busy, and so I also smiled at her, lowered my head, said, "I respect you," in my head. And she just ignored me, and then she actually looked at me, but then she just had a flat expression on her face. So that was kind of discouraging, but I think it still it made me feel better that I did at least try to show respect to her. And even my brother, who I know well, I tried to do this to him too, and we're on generally good terms. But he must have had a bad day because he also wasn't that nice. He didn't smile back or be nice to me back, even though I did that to him. So that was kind of surprising because we are on good terms and I do know him well. But in general, what I learned from this experiment was that even if people don't, even if people give you bad responses, it's still good to do this because it brings a piece of, it helps lower stress and it helps make you feel better. And when they do give good responses, it helps them feel better too. So, and that was my saying.
Great, thank you. All right, where are we? We finished the back row? Did you comment on the speeches?
No.
Okay, it'll be your turn. What did you stand up, say your name, and say what you like?
Hi, my name is Isa too, and I like.
Hi, Isa too.
And I like how you introduced the good and the greater rather than the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, well, he was being honest that nothing really ugly happened, so he lived a charmed life, so that's good. Improvement?
Improvement.
Start with your name, please.
Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
An improvement would be. I mean, I understand it was hard to structure because you couldn't structure with the responses you got, but that might have been it, just because it was a lot of the similar stories that you were telling. But other than that, it was good.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah. I liked your speech, and I liked your honesty, and I liked that it went well. I liked that you did the experiment, that you repeated the mantra, and that you really tried conscientiously to do the experiment as I presented it to you. And so thank you for trying it, and I saw that you got generally a good result. On this speeching we're doing, on the speech making we're doing, this looking to always have a grabber to start out with, a poem, a story, a quote, or a joke, even a rhetorical question. You start off with, from Monday to Tuesday, I try to convey respect but nonverbal to everyone I met. Right? And so you didn't have much to tie back to. You didn't have a poem, a quote, a story, anything to go back to, see? You just kind of ended on a whimper instead of the way that some people come the full circle. So have a real something that grabs people, draws them in, makes them want to listen, and then something you can come back to. So I think that your introduction was a little long, but you told us basically what all that happened, and it was very good. And then you finally got to your thesis preview, and that was excellent. And then you started with your two good and great responses at the Center for Health. And the woman picking up the book, and that was good. And I'm glad that you pointed out that it wasn't just good for the person getting the respect, but you felt good doing it. So you're sweetening someone's day, and you're sweetening your own day by being a respectful person, and this is desirable, right? On your bad ones, which you talked about, and it mainly was apathy, and I warned you this is the case. People are locked into their phones and their iPods and so forth. And you told me about the cleaning lady and your brother, and I guess this kind of surprised you. I like the way, though, that when you got to the what did I learn, you kind of emphasized that a little with your voice. That was good. So that stood out. We knew you were going to tell us what you learned then, and so that was good. You can go ahead and number things if you want to. And my only quibble is you didn't have much to tie back to. I'd like to see you move 3 times, not too far, just to the end of the screen, and then back over there, and then back to the center, just to here, yeah, and then back to here for the bad, and so it'd be the good, the bad, the ugly. If you were doing it, with the three, but yours would just have been the good, 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 the bad, 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 and then the no ugly back in the center. Say, it relaxes you to move a little. It relaxes the muscles in your body. You're standing, so you get a little nervous. When you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, you're going to see you do this thing with your hands a lot. You hold them like you're holding them now. And you also do this with your thumbs. See? This is called steepling, and it denotes a sense of superiority to your audience. And they pick that up, and you don't want to give that off. Sometimes when you go in to ask your boss for a raise, he'll go like this, or he'll go like this. You ever see a boss do this? What?
The evil steeple?
Yeah, the evil steeple, it's called. Thank you. What do you want, Devanchu? Yes. And it suggests an unequal relationship, and so watch yourself tonight. Do it. You kept going into it, and you kept going into that. And just keep your hands by your side and let them gesture naturally. I noticed that you had the golden rule written at the top. Were you going to start and end with that? Or,
yeah.
And then it slipped your mind, or what happened, or what was that all about?
I was going to use that as like an introduction of sorts, but then I just couldn't.
Okay. Because one way to do it is to say, when I was a young boy, my mother taught me, do unto others as you got them to do unto you. And I think it's a rule that served me well throughout my life. And it served me well when I was trying this experiment to give respect to everybody. And then when you come back to the end after you finish saying what you learned. So remember that golden rule, and remember that if you do unto others and give respect to others, they'll give it back to you, or something like that. Say, so then it all hangs together in one big whole thing. Okay, Devanchu, thank you very much. And what was the time? 5:15. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about this, people. I remember that's what it was.
Okay. Do we have? Is anybody else in the? You're ready to go? Okay, good. Thank you. Well, we're getting them all done. Excellent. Okay, don't stand in the squares, please. Okay, Pedro stands before you to share respect with us. She's managing attention. She's going through her purse looking for something. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Well, hi. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Pedro Perez. I'm a 21-year-old student from Spain. So
Hi, Pedro.
I apologize for my English if it's not that good. So, as we all know, the assignment was to go out there and try to non-verbally say to everyone, I respect you. So my speech is divided, it's organized in two parts. First of all, I will tell a story, and then I will say the good, the ugly, and the bad stuff I found out, and finally I will tell you a conclusion. So let's get to it. So as I said before, I'm from Spain, and at the time I wrote the speech, I've only been here for 3 days, so I was quite new to the city. And I was really looking forward to getting to know all the parts. So the first thing I wanted to check out was Santa Monica. So as we all do, I went to Google Maps and Santa Monica. This was a quick way to get there. So Google Maps said it was bus number 2. That will take me there in like 45 minutes. So I went to the bus stop and tried to look out for bus number 2. But I just couldn't find it. So this is where the I respect you experiment kicks in. I saw this lady, she was maybe like 50 or 55 years old, and I approached her and said to her, excuse me, do you know where bus number 2 stops? So she very quickly, in a very direct way, said, I don't know, and just turned away. So in response to her, I just non-verbally said to her, I respect you, and I said, it's okay, thank you very much. So I turned and just started looking at my phone to what alternatives did I have. And like 10 seconds or 15 seconds afterwards, she just turned to me and said, sorry, where are you going? And I said, I want to go through Santa Monica. And she said, okay, then bus number 720 can take you there, and it just stops in this stop, so you can just wait with me and get the same bus. So I said, okay, thank you very much, another non-verbal, I respect you, and waited with her. So I wanted to tell you this story because I think that it summarizes very well the three things we had to tell here today. And the good thing I learned is that we have a power to change things, and it doesn't take that much. I mean, I changed the attitude of this woman by just saying her thank you very much and saying I respect you. So we all have this power to change these things. The bad stuff I learned is seeing how we respond normally. Like how our first response to someone being a little bit lost and asking for help is just saying, I don't know. Even though we do know and we can help them, our first response is just saying no to them. And the ugly stuff, and this was just me thinking about it, was seeing how I would have responded to that woman if it wasn't before this class. If it wasn't me doing this experiment, probably my response to her, it wouldn't have been, I respect you, it's okay, thank you very much. I would probably say, yeah, and just leave her. So that wouldn't have changed anything. It just would make her day a worse day, and my day a worse day, because I wouldn't have found my way to Santa Monica. Mm-hmm. So this is where the conclusion comes, and what have I learned about this experiment? And what I've learned is that we can change things. Not in a worldwide way, but in a small way, that eventually it will add up in a worldwide way. So I encourage you to embrace this experiment and do it not just after this class, but every day, so we can slowly change things. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you. Okay, where are we? Somewhere back here? Are you ready to comment? Stand up for Buddha, please.
Hi, my name is Devanshu.
Hi, Devanshu.
I thought that your body language and your tone was like very dynamic, and because you vary in your loudness and your pitch and stuff like that. And so that was very dynamic. But yeah, I think that was good.
Okay, let's go to improvement.
I'm Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Bad with improvements. Maybe have more stories. Maybe another story or two.
Yeah, what was the time?
3:37.
Yeah, it was a little short. I'm not a big believer in apologizing ahead of time. I'm from Spain and I have crummy English. You don't. You're very understandable, so I wouldn't apologize. It's just appeal for sympathy, and you don't need it. So I'd lose that appeal, that apology of I don't speak well. But maybe it's a good humble thing to say. I don't know. It's your call. You launched right into your speech and said, "This is, I found out some things, and I'm going to start with a story." And I would have liked you to have started with some kind of observation or something, and then got into your preview thesis. I loved your story. It was a great story. It was well told, and it had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you had a little moral at the end of it, and it went through little phases where the woman said, "I don't know, get away from me." And you just kind of went, "Okay, I respect you anyway," and you just sat there and kind of stewed on your phone, and then she felt bad because she saw that, you were sitting there frantically trying to find out how to get somewhere. I think, and she then had a change of heart and helped you. And maybe it was your respectful vibration, maybe it was her guilty conscience, but in any case, she helped you, and that was good. And I'm glad that you were respectful and didn't respond in kind. Well, give her the middle finger and say, "Well, screw you, up yours," yeah. And yes, I agree with Daniel. I wish I had heard you practicing when you got to Santa Monica and you're walking along Venice Boardwalk? How did it go there? Did most people ignore you? Did you practice it more back at UCLA in the dorm? Da, 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 da. And give us a couple more stories, see? But you had a marvelous ending, and I think you saw the power, just a very simple idea, but the power of this very simple idea to transform yourself and your experiences and the world and other people. And I think I liked your conclusion a great deal. So you did a good job, Pedro. Just more meat in your speech. You know, when I say good, bad, ugly, let's have some bad and ugly if you can come up with it. And a tie back to an intro, a poem, a quote, a story, and you come back to that in the end. And a verbal narrative that you've heard me say this to others of where you are in your speech. So that was the good. Now let's do the bad. So what did I learn? So in summary, okay. And so with your voice, you're telling us where you are. Okay.
Yeah.
But overall, good job. Thank you. Is that it on respect? One more. Oh, this row. And then we have one in the front row. Two more in the front row. One more.
I have to go to the restroom.
Free country, yeah. This is not high school. Just go. Do I have your outline, sir? Elliot, phone home. Okay. Elliot standing before you, managing attention. You can take a step forward away from that screen so you're not so backed up. Yeah, thank you. You're more intimate with your audience that way, so and you don't seem like you're afraid of them. He's in the power stance, isn't he? Hands out of your pocket, communicating respect non-verbally, saying to himself, I respect you, as he looks in the eye of every audience member and really means it, as he says it silently to himself. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center, say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi, I'm Elliot. And
Hi, Elliot.
one thing I learned through this experiment was going over this idea, respect must be earned. I've grown up with that ideology. I don't know about you guys, but that's something I had seen, and I really wanted to test it with this experiment of, should it really be earned, or should we sort of live with this idea of, I respect everyone just because everyone's human. And so over the past 2 days, or 2 days from last week, I have been testing that experiment. And I've seen some good, some bad, and obviously some ugly. And even though I've seen all of that, I still believe at the end of it, the respect is good to provide to everyone, irregardless of how it may turn out. And I'd like to start with the good, which is probably one of my favorites, is what happened with a gym attendant that I had saw. Because what usually happens is I come, and this is probably true for most people, I give them the card, he scans me in, I move on with my routine. What happened this time around is I went to him and I was telling myself, I respect you, I respect you. And then I come up to him and I say, hi, I'm glad to have met you. Can I have your name? Thank you for doing everything that you do, because we usually just don't appreciate people for what they do. And it was really unusual because afterward when I left, I also told him, have a good day. And the next morning I come, and he actually knew my name, which really shocked me. He's like, hey Elliot, how you doing? He was smiling. I didn't think he would remember my name at all. I mean, we sort of treat each other like drones in general, but that was an interesting thing. And the next day, I really wanted to push it a little to see what would happen. So I did have my gym card, but I told him, you know, I forgot it, just to see what would happen. And I was really surprised that he said, I know you, you're fine, just go in. And had it been anyone else, he probably would have said, you know, go back home and get it, I don't know, it's not my care, I don't have to care for you. Now, of course, we still have some ugly sides, or some bad things, and the bad things, while not as good, they sort of show a lot of indifference. For one example, I remember I saw a person while going to Powell Library to study. I noticed someone's behind me, I'm like, I respect you, I respect you. I held the door open. So, but this guy just went right through me. Didn't say anything, no gesture, no nod, no nothing. And when I thought about that incident, I'm thinking, all right, well, yes, I'm disappointed, but then I had to think, why am I disappointed? And the reason I was disappointed was more, I was looking for some reciprocation. And once I lost that assumption of reciprocation and I look at the scenario, nothing turned out worse by being respectful than had I just been rude to him and just like slammed the door in his face. I got nothing out of it, but I didn't lose anything out of it. Now, of course, there are some ugly stories. And that ugly story came in an event of when I saw a woman drop one of her cards while digging through her purse. I noticed that, I pick it up, I went to stop her, and then she right away, she doesn't even skip a beat, she says right away, I have a boyfriend, don't even try it. And that was weird because, well, I just handed the card and moved on because I don't know how to recover from that. It was a little bit awkward. But when I reflected about that scenario, it was interesting because I was thinking, well, probably she gets hit on a lot or something must be going on, or else you normally don't just start off a conversation and shut up. That's not what I usually start off a conversation with. So when I think about it, it's something that affects her that irregardless of how I reacted, she would have responded the same way. I could have been mean to her, I could have been nice to her, I could have done whatever. She probably would have started that conversation that way. So from the experience, I pretty much learned that respect actually leads to a better lifestyle because although we don't gain anything in every scenario, it turns out you get a better circumstance than had you not responded with respect. If you went rude, you probably would have gotten worse responses. And one final thing I noticed, which was really interesting, is more people responded positive than those that I would categorize as ugly. And the bad, well, I'm okay with those. Even though most people fell into that, they're indifferent. You gain nothing, but you clearly lose nothing. So all in all, through the experiment, I sort of learned that respect doesn't have to be earned, but you should just provide it to everyone, and in turn, you will receive it back. Thank you, everyone, for listening to me.
Okay, thank you, Elliot. Are we back in the front row now? Yes. Okay, we're here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deanna.
Hi, Deanna.
I really liked your structure of your speech, and I liked how you talked about the gym attendant, and then you decided to kind of do your own thing and come back the next day and see how it happened. And I thought that was really interesting, and I liked the story about women. It was it was contrast to the first story, and yeah, your stories were very interesting.
Good stories. Thank you, Deanna. Improvement?
Hi, my name is Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia.
Maybe like you said, varying your voice once you got to like the ending, like in conclusion or something like that. But I like that overall.
What I learned. Pause. Yeah. Elliot, you're very fluent, and you did a nice job. You're very pleasant to listen to, and it was very, I can tell you seem like a very nice person, and that comes through. So you were very sincere, and that was good. On your introduction, you kind of started with the story of the idea that you've been taught that respect must be earned. I don't just go around giving respect. It's got to be earned, right? And I understand that concept, and I say this to that. I say give everybody respect once, the first time, until you learn otherwise, that they, spit in your face, and you don't have to continue to respect them at that point, or whatever. You don't have, you know what I'm saying. It's not unconditional love, but I do think that, and I don't know how you said it exactly, but I do think that we are all God's children, and I do think that everyone deserves to be respected on this planet, regardless of their height, weight, low, high status in the society. I think everyone deserves respect, initially, and then you can take it from there. But this thing about you don't get it till you earn it from me is a pretty high bar, and it's pretty hard-hearted in a way. It can be pretty hard-hearted. Now, on your first story, and by the way, the word is regardless. There's no word called irregardless, so lose it from your vocabulary. On the your first story, yeah, great story, and it was a combination of the verbal and the nonverbal that really worked well. But I hope you learned something very important, that even people in the lowliest job want to be acknowledged and want to say, hey, you're a human being, you're doing fine. Even the Taco Bell presenter, except for in some weird cases, want to be thought of as doing a good job or whatever. And so, gosh, you did a good thing for him, and he remembered your name, of course, and then he let you in the gym without a card. And these kinds of things, I can share with you. I was at a hotel this last weekend, and I was very kind with the front desk operator, just asking him about his life and his name and everything, and just being respectful to him. And when I ran into him later, I asked him what the chances were of me getting an early check-in, and he gave me a 5-hour early check-in. And remembered me from my conversation on the phone. And I was just flabbergasted, because most places goes, check-in's 4 o'clock, come back, And but I wasn't doing it to get an early check-in. I was doing it because I was sincerely interested in the guy, and I was being respectful to him. But it paid dividends. It paid results, as you will discover if you continue to practice this, and as you saw with your gym attendant. On the Powell Library guy, yeah, I'm amazed. I hold the door for people all the time, and they think I'm the doorman. I sometimes have 10, 15 people walk by me. I was at the lecture for the professors, my last lecture. I don't know if you ever heard of that, up there at the dorms. And I happened to be one of the first person out. I was holding the door. People just streamed past me, Hi. Okay, that's cool. And you're right. You kind of thinking, what happened to the day when people would say thank you? What happened to manners? What happened to that? And what happened to the decency that we used to have in our society? And I wish it would come back. On your third one of the woman that dropped her card, and she said, don't even try, I have a boyfriend. I think you're right in understanding maybe she's attractive and is hit on all the time or whatever. It's like waitresses that wear the wedding ring even though they're not married, just to keep men from, I want to date you, But you were right. It didn't cost you anything to be kind and give her card back, and you can get over this, and it helped you feel good, even if she was kind of weird, right? And then when you said, so overall, what did I learn? A little more emphasis with your voice, and I would have liked you to have seen me tied back more to that concept of the respect has to be earned as your tie back. But you were very fluent. I'd like to see your eye contact all over the room. It was more centered here in the center part. I'd like to see you go to the edges, look at everybody, and give them 3 to 5 seconds of eye contact. Did a very good job, Elliot. Thank you. Is that the last one? No, one more. Yeah, we got plenty of battery. Good. Oh, you've done yours? Yeah, good. Okay.
This is the last one.
Yeah. Okay. Cynthia, so I gotta adjust the camera. Okay, you can stand to the front of the squares. Yeah. Cynthia stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, saying to herself, I respect my audience very much, and means it. Finding friendly eyes near the front and center, say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi, my name is Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia.
As many of my fellow classmates have mentioned, we all like being respected. Whether it's that you work in a 35-degree freezer or out in the sun from sunup to sundown when temperatures are even over 100 degrees. Those are my parents. And that was me up to last summer. We immigrated from Mexico almost 12 years ago. And we are not criminals and we are not rapists, as one ignorant and disrespectful presidential candidate suggested and described us as. My parents have actually taught me very valuable lessons and principles such as respect. One thing that this clown completely lacks. When I was practicing the respect theory that we learned here, on Monday evening I went grocery shopping with my roommates, and as we were walking back, we saw a guy on his phone and he was just like looking through it, and when he looked up, we made eye contact, and in my head I said, I respect you. And then he proceeded to ask, do you know how to get to Midveld? And I told him how to get there, but I also said, we're walking that way if you want to walk with us. And he said, sure. So he proceeded to tell me that he was from Turkey and that this was his first time in the US and he was here for a summer program. And I thought to myself, maybe all of this started because we actually made contact and I smiled, and this gave him the confidence to ask a question if he needed help. So I decided to walk around without earphones, which sometimes I do because sometimes I'm running a little late, and if I have music, I just feel that I walk faster and get there faster. So I decided to put my earphones away and my phone away, and since summer started, there are a lot of summer camps. So there's a lot of people with a map and just kind of looking a little lost. So I decided to make contact with them and smile, just make myself a little more available if they have any questions. So I did this to another girl who also had a map in her hand, and I just smiled, but she just looked away. And I felt a little bad because I thought maybe if she had a question, she would ask me. But I realized maybe this approach doesn't work with everybody, or maybe she was just shy. So the next day, I started the nursing volunteer program at Ronald Reagan, and since it was my first time, the nurses was introducing me to the rest of the staff and to some of the patients. When we got to one of the patients' door, I said, well, I respect you in my head, and the nurse was introducing me, but before I even got to say anything, he was like, I don't even want to be here, I want to go home. Why are you bringing new people? And I felt a little shocked because I was there not to make anybody feel uncomfortable. I was there if they needed if they needed any help. But then I realized, I felt a little bad, but then after I realized and I learned that sometimes we act in the situation that we're in and not necessarily because of the person that we are. Maybe I've noticed this in myself. Maybe if we're having a bad day, we're just rushing everywhere and we don't even make eye contact, and we could be disrespectful without even noticing. So I decided to try to be more understanding of these people, because if they're in the hospital, obviously something is wrong with them or their family members, and I decided not to take it personally if somebody is being rude, and I decided to also be respectful. I also learned that a smile could go a long way, and you could make yourself seem more trustworthy to ask questions, and it may be the beginning of a great friendship.
Okay, thank you. Where are we? In the front row? Is it here? Okay, let's continue the pattern.
Hi, my name is Sienna. I really, really
Hi,
liked
Sienna.
your first story, and all of your stories I thought had a really nice, poignant, emotional core to them. It was really effective.
Yeah, good. Improvement?
I always have to deliver bad news. Every time you get to see
Okay, every time it's okay, we'll go over this way this time then. Bad news. Tell her how she can improve and grow.
Hi, I'm Pedro.
Hi, Pedro.
I didn't really get the introduction, but that's
Yeah.
because I'm not from here, I suppose. Yes.
Well, we could say that her introduction was this idea that everyone wants to be respected. My family comes from, was it Mexico or Central Mexico? And we pick in the fields at 100-degree temperatures, and we're not murderers and rapists. So her story was her begin. That was her intro. Was her story. That and we deserve respect. Unlike Donald Trump, who says you're murderers and rapists, and I'll send you all. I'll build a wall and send you all back. You know, yeah. Okay, so that was her intro. Do you have any other suggestions for improvement, Pedro?
Yeah, maybe like the structure. I didn't like. It wasn't that.
You couldn't follow her.
Yeah, for me.
Okay, fair enough. And Cynthia, that can come with you working with your voice. And I wrote down here, I didn't really get a thesis preview very strongly with your voice. It said, I'm going to tell you about the good, the bad, the ugly. 3 stories. So let me first tell you about the good, Monday evening, and then you have a running narrative and a smile. You look, how do I get the mid-bill? The boy from Turkey story was your good, right?
Yes.
And then I think that what that needed also was a little moral at the end of the story of so you see a little respect. And he was able to approach me because I was thinking I respect you, and I was approachable. Because people, I've been in very dicey situations, but I give off respectful vibrations and got out of them because they sense that I respect them and I'm not a threat or I'm not being disrespectful. And I think that the boy from Turkey sensed that you're being respectful and friendly with your smile, and so that was good. On your, I guess this was bad about the girl that just turned away that had the map. Yeah, but that was a good impulse that you had to look for people with maps. I park in Royce Hall, and I always see people staring at the map, going. I always go up to them and say, "Are you lost? Let me tell you. Let me direct you," because I know it's hard to get around here, and you can just someone carrying a map, you just know. And I've been in every city in Europe, and I've had people come up to me because I'm carrying a map, or I have a little UCLA sticker or a UCLA hat on, and people come up to me and talk to me. And they go, "Are you lost? Do you need help?" And I get help, So it was a good impulse that you were trying to help people with maps on campus. So I thought that was a good, respectful thing to want to be doing. And just because she rebuffed you, you should still keep trying to be respectful to people with maps. Okay, and then you needed to say, the Ronald Reagan nurse guy, that was, I guess he was ugly, right? Or was he ugly? Yeah, he was ugly, right? He was ugly, yeah. But you kind of understood. What I didn't get from you is, were you actively saying your mantra to him when you were interacting with him, or were you just
I had
there?
There, and I was repeating it in my head.
You're repeating your, but he still wasn't having you.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm here. Get me out of here. That's a really bad thing to say to volunteers, but volunteers can be really helpful and great. But maybe you're right. Maybe he was having a very bad day. So, and then you wanted to say, so that was the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, what did I learn? Then go into it. In summary, this is what I think Pedro was saying. It would be easier to follow. Your structure would be more, if your narrative was more verbally focused, then you'd be easier to follow. Like to see you move 3 times. I didn't have to move the camera, and that'll help you relax a little. Other than that, you did a nice job. You spoke without notes. That was good. Extemporaneously. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, give yourself a round of applause. Good job on respect. Continue to practice it. Okay, I see I have to change the battery. Now it's time. We have time to do a few intro speeches. Oh wait, did I give you your final and your prompt? So I should do that. Maybe that's what we'll take the rest of the time. Yeah, it's an essay. It's a 20-page essay.
What? Are you joking?
No. Why? 20? Why? You never had a 20-page paper?
I don't think so.
Good. You had a first experience.
Time for everything, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait.
Okay, yeah, it's up here. I'll get it. Let me turn
What does
this.
that do?